Industrialists are emerging who make the European nobility look poor. Cornelius Vanderbilt dominates railroads. Andrew Carnegie is building a steel empire. John D. Rockefeller creates Standard Oil and basically monopolizes the entire petroleum industry. These guys are creating fortunes that would make even the Rothschilds pause. The American economy is becoming the biggest in the world. New organizational structures, new ways of doing business, new industries. It's chaotic and wild and full of opportunity. And the Rothschilds, who've been dismissing America as a land of madmen for years, are starting to realize they missed something big. They see the House of Morgan succeeding. They see Wall Street emerging as a financial center that could rival London. They realize America is where the action is moving, where the next century of wealth will be built. They need to get in. They need to find opportunities. They need to make up for lost time. And the perfect opportunity is about to present itself. Not in a boom, but in a crash. Not in success, but in disaster. Because that's when the biggest opportunities appear, when there's blood in the streets, as the saying goes. When everyone else is panicking and selling, that's when smart money buys. For America, that day arrives on May 9th, 1893, and it's going to be bad. Really, really bad. The railroad boom in America had been going strong for decades. Everyone wanted in. Investors were throwing money at railroad companies like they were handing out candy. New lines were being built everywhere, connecting cities that didn't need connecting, running parallel to existing routes, just building for the sake of building. It was a bubble. Everyone could see it was a bubble, but nobody wanted to admit it because everyone was making too much money, until suddenly they weren't. May 9th, 1893, the whole thing collapses. Not slowly, not gradually, just boom, gone. Railroad companies start going bankrupt, one after another, like dominoes falling. The entire industry, which had been the backbone of American growth, just implodes. Banks that lent money to railroads suddenly have worthless paper. Investors who bought railroad stocks watch their portfolios evaporate. Companies that supplied railroads lose their biggest customers overnight. This triggers one of the worst depressions in American history, the Panic of 1893. People lose jobs, businesses close, banks fail. It's a total mess, and everyone's looking to the government to do something, fix it, make it better. Isn't that what governments are for? President Grover Cleveland has different ideas. He's absolutely determined to maintain the gold standard. That's his thing, his line in the sand. The US dollar is convertible to gold at a fixed rate, and that's not changing, no matter what. You got to understand the context here. Back in the 1890s, the US dollar wasn't the global currency. That was the British pound. Britain had the world's dominant economy, and the pound was what everyone used for international trade. If America wanted to be taken seriously, if it wanted to attract foreign investment and be seen as a real player on the world stage, it needed to prove its currency was solid, backed by gold, trustworthy. Cleveland believes that maintaining gold convertibility is more important than anything else, more important than helping the economy recover, more important than bailing out failed businesses, more important than unemployment or suffering. If the dollar loses its gold backing, America loses its credibility. That's his thinking, so he refuses to do expansionary fiscal policy. No tax cuts, no increased government spending, no stimulus, nothing that might threaten the gold reserves. Which would be fine except for one tiny problem. The government is running dangerously low on gold. People are panicking and converting their dollars to gold because they don't trust the currency anymore. And every day, more gold leaves the treasury. At the rate things are going, the government is maybe days away from running out completely. If that happens, the gold standard collapses, the dollar collapses, American credibility on the world stage, gone. Foreign investment, gone. It would be a disaster that makes the current depression look mild. Cleveland needs help, fast. He calls on J. Pierpont Morgan, Junius's son, the next generation of the Morgan banking dynasty. Junius died a few years earlier in a traffic accident, tragic and random, and now J.P. Morgan is running the show. And if you thought Junius was impressive, J.P. is on another level. J.P. Morgan looks at the situation and understands immediately how bad this is. The government is about to default on the gold standard. That would be catastrophic for America. And honestly, it would be pretty bad for the House of Morgan too, since their entire business model depends on America being financially stable. If the country goes down, they go down with it. But solving this problem requires gold, a lot of gold. More gold than the US government has access to, more gold than Morgan can easily acquire through normal channels. He needs someone with massive gold reserves, someone who's been accumulating gold for decades, someone with operations around the world who can move gold quickly. He needs the Rothschilds. For the last 30 years, while Morgan was building his American empire, the Rothschilds have been quietly investing in gold and silver mining operations all over the world. South Africa, South America, wherever there are mines producing precious metals, the Rothschilds have been buying stakes. Their gold holdings are enormous, way bigger than any government's. And they've been using their influence to push countries toward adopting the gold standard because it makes their gold holdings more valuable. J.P. Morgan reaches out to the Rothschilds. Here's the situation. Here's what we need. Can you help? The Rothschilds look at this and see a perfect opportunity. They get to help stabilize America, which is good for their other American investments. They get to establish a relationship with the US government, which opens doors for future business, and they get paid handsomely for the service. Win-win-win. Morgan arranges to issue $65 million in government bonds. That's the funding mechanism. The government is essentially borrowing money from the public. Morgan takes those bonds and uses the money to negotiate with the Rothschilds. He buys 3.5 million ounces of gold. That's a staggering amount. We're talking tons and tons of physical gold that has to be transported across the Atlantic. Now here's why banks loved doing business with governments back then. Still do, actually. Governments are reliable borrowers. They pay back their debts because they can always collect more taxes. They're not going to go bankrupt and disappear. They might be slow payers sometimes, but they pay. That makes them low-risk, high-reward clients, the kind of customers every bank wants. The collaboration between Morgan and Rothschild on this deal creates one of the most sought-after investments anyone's seen. When the gold bonds go on sale to the public, they sell out in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. People are literally fighting to buy these bonds. The confidence in the US government backed by Morgan and Rothschild gold is that strong. The crisis gets resolved. The gold standard holds. The dollar remains convertible. American credibility stays intact. Cleveland looks like a genius for sticking to his principles, even though he basically got saved by two banking families. Morgan and the Rothschilds both make huge profits and cement their positions as the two most powerful financial institutions in the world. And America? America takes its place on the world stage as a legitimate economic superpower, not just a big country with potential, an actual empire, a rival to Britain, a force that will dominate the 20th century. The Rothschilds successfully expanded their business into America. They've got connections now. They've proven they can operate at the highest levels of American finance, but they're still based in Europe, still more focused on European markets than American ones. And that's going to be a problem because Europe is heading towards something that will make all previous wars look like practice runs. By the early 1900s, you can feel the tension building across Europe. It's like watching a pot about to boil over. You've got imperial rivalries. Britain wants to maintain its empire. Germany wants to build one. France wants revenge for losing to Germany. Austria-Hungary is barely holding itself together. Everyone's building up their militaries. Everyone's forming alliances. Everyone's waiting for someone else to make the first move. The Rothschilds, who've been profiting from European conflicts for a century, see this tension and think it's just another opportunity. More wars mean more financing needs, more government bonds, more currency trading. Same game they've been playing forever. They're actually advocating for military expansion in some cases. The head of the London Rothschild Bank, Natty Rothschild, is pushing for Britain to expand its naval capabilities, build more ships, maintain dominance at sea. And yeah, the Rothschilds will happily finance those ships. European countries start spending massive amounts on their militaries. Arms races accelerate. Everyone's preparing for war, and all that military spending needs to be financed. The banks, especially the Rothschilds, are there to provide the loans. It's profitable. It's what they do. It's been working for generations. What they don't realise, what nobody realises, is that the war about to unfold is going to be fundamentally different from anything that came before. The weapons are more deadly, the scale is bigger, the ideology is more extreme. This isn't going to be a limited war that ends with negotiations and border adjustments. This is going to be total war, industrial war, the kind that grinds up entire generations. June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary gets assassinated in Sarajevo. He's shot along with his wife Sophie by a Serbian nationalist, and this one assassination, this one violent act becomes the spark that ignites the whole powder keg. See, Serbia doesn't want to be ruled by Austria-Hungary. They want independence. They're their own people with their own identity, and Austria-Hungary is old, tired, imperialistic. The Serbians are done with it, so some nationalist radicals decide to make a statement by killing the Archduke. Bold move, terrible move, but bold. Austria-Hungary blames Serbia, demands crazy concessions. Serbia refuses some of them. Austria-Hungary declares war, but Serbia has allies. Russia backs Serbia. Germany backs Austria-Hungary. France backs Russia. Britain eventually backs France. The alliance system turns one assassination into a continental war in a matter of weeks. And this war is nothing like the wars the Rothschilds have been financing. This is trench warfare, machine guns, artillery that can level entire towns, poison gas, millions of soldiers sitting in muddy trenches, getting shelled day after day, occasionally going over the top into no man's land where they get mowed down by machine gun fire. It's industrial scale slaughter. The death toll is incomprehensible. By the time it's over, about 10 million soldiers will be dead, another 7 million civilians, entire towns wiped out, whole generations lost. The maps of Europe will be redrawn, empires will fall, nothing will ever be the same. For the first time in Rothschild history, members of the family are on opposing sides. The London Rothschilds are financing Britain and its allies. The Vienna Rothschilds are in Austria-Hungary. The Frankfurt Rothschilds are in Germany. They're literally funding both sides of the same war. Family members fighting against each other through the loans they provide. This violates everything Maya Angelou taught them. Family unity above all else. Always work together, never compete, never fight. But how do you maintain family unity when your countries are trying to kill each other? When the governments you're financing are at war? There's no good answer. The family bond gets strained in ways it's never been tested before. The Rothschilds survive World War I. They even profit from it because war financing is still profitable, but their dominance is slipping. The scale of their operations is getting overshadowed by a new generation of banks, particularly by the House of Morgan in America. Morgan Bank becomes the key financier for the US government during World War I. They're raising funds through war bonds, they're extending loans to European allies, they're coordinating between American industry and military needs. JP Morgan's son, Jack Morgan, is running the operation now, and he's doing it bigger and better than the Rothschilds ever did. The center of financial power is shifting from London to New York, from the old world to the new world, from the Rothschilds to Morgan. In 1935, the Jewish Chronicle, which had been following the Rothschild family for generations, basically admits what everyone can see. The Rothschilds' heyday is fading. They're still rich, still powerful, still influential, but they're not the dominant force anymore. The world has changed. Banking has changed. And the Rothschilds haven't kept up. Some of the smartest members of the younger generation are walking away from the family business entirely. They're pursuing other interests: art, science, politics, anything but banking. The drive that built the empire, that hunger that Mayer Amschel had, it's not there in the same way for kids who grew up rich. You can't recreate that desperation, that need to prove yourself. That's something you either have because you started with nothing, or you don't have it at all. The banking houses in different cities start pursuing their own strategies instead of working as one unified empire. The Paris Bank does its thing, the London Bank does its thing, Vienna does its own thing. They're still connected, still family, but they're not operating as one coordinated force anymore. The tight integration that made them dominant is loosening. And then the world gets even worse, way worse, because Europe's about to do the whole World War thing again, except this time it's going to be even more brutal, even more destructive, even more catastrophic for the Rothschild family personally. After World War I, Germany is humiliated and broke. They lost territory. They're paying massive